My name is Faye Cossar. I've been here this year 20 years, so a long time. I'm from New Zealand originally, but I lived in England for 2 years before I came here.
Where in England?
In London.
Okay. What brought you to Holland?
I don't know really. I didn't know anybody when I came here. I went for work. I went to I got leave of absence from my job. I used to be in computers in New Zealand, and I got leave of absence and took a client to England, to Manchester, and I had leave of absence for a year, and decided I didn't want to go back, so I resigned while I was in London, and travelled a lot in London, and did contract work in London, and eventually thought, well, after 2 years in London, I would like to try and live on the continent or somewhere else. So via somebody else, via I got a job in Amsterdam. But I didn't know anybody in Holland when I came here. So.
How was that?
Pretty scary in the beginning. It's pretty scary. But I felt, Amsterdam, I felt immediately at home for some reason. I got in with really fun people, and the company I worked for was quite fun. It was a lot of English speaking people. It was a computer consultancy company. So yeah, I just sort of fell in love with the place really. So.
Can you remember some of your first impressions of being in Holland?
Cold. I came in the October and it was the worst winter that they'd had for, I mean, I don't know how many years. So it rained solidly for 3 weeks, and it was the year that the sea froze over. So I thought, my God, what have I done here when I first came here? But it was a very unusual winter.
Do you speak Dutch?
So I do now, but I didn't, of course, then. So.
You can get around in English here?
Oh yeah. I lecture actually. I do lectures now in Dutch, so my Dutch is reasonable. Well, I've been here 20 years, so.
Any solid recommendations, advice for people who about learning a language?
I think if I look at how I learnt Dutch, the company I was working for sent me on some lessons, so I got that paid for, which were right at the beginning, and I found that really helpful. I did a sort of intensive 1 week, the first week I was here, and what I found is that I could kind of I could get the gist of what was going on, and that gave me a bit more confidence. One of the problems in Amsterdam is that everybody speaks English, so when you try, everybody speaks English back at you, which is incredibly annoying. So it is harder, I think, learning Dutch in Amsterdam than it is out of Amsterdam. I found that really tricky. The other good thing I did was with another friend of mine who came at the same time. We did an evening class together, and there were no English-speaking people in it. So we had to speak Dutch to communicate with the other people, and there were like Turks and Moroccans and French, and that she was a really good teacher.
Yeah.
So that was a huge laugh as well.
Yeah.
So that was good fun. But probably the best thing I did was I had 2 people working for me, whose English was really good. But what they did at a given point is they said, we're not going to speak English to you anymore. So they refused to speak English. So they let me speak English, but they spoke Dutch all the time.
And how long did it take you to learn?
Well, if I really didn't understand, of course, they went back into English. But I don't know, it's so gradual. You know, it's difficult. You understand, well, I certainly found that I understood quite a lot before I dared to speak it or could make myself really well understood.
What are some Dutch words that you began with?
Oh, the normal ones, you know, thank you, hello, goodbye.
And what?
A glass of wine, a cappuccino, silver play, graag, whatever.
Okay.
The normal eating and drinking ones are always good.
Yeah.
And I had a great shopping is always good. You know, going shopping and getting the veggie man to help you with all the names of the vegetables and the whatever.
Yeah.
So people are quite helpful if you play along with it.
Okay.
Well, the best thing I did and the hardest thing I did, but the thing that improved my Dutch the most probably was to do a training in Dutch, where I was allowed to do the written work in English.
The written work.
Yeah, I couldn't. My written Dutch, I still hate writing Dutch, because I was allowed to do the course written in English, because a lot of people here understand English. I decided to do the course. It was a therapy training, but all the books were in Dutch, or a lot of the books were in Dutch. So, and that was sort of mandatory. So, and that was a huge jump, because I had to, and it was a deadline, and I had to do it. And it was like sitting down with a dictionary. It was hard work, but it was the thing that helped my Dutch the most, probably.
Okay.
And just daring. You know, you feel silly in the beginning.
What do you do for work now?
I'm I'm an astrologer, and a therapist.
What kind of astrology?
Western, so normal Western astrology for businesses, but also personal.
How long have you been doing that?
About 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. On and off. Yeah.
Okay.
So I started doing personal charts a long time ago. And when I came to Holland in '86, I started then doing professional, charging for charts. So although I had a straight job, I was doing that part-time. And then eventually when I left in '92, I went back into consultancy work. I then set up my own kind of business, not as a company, but just working for myself, doing a bit of teaching and a bit of charts for people.
How was that trying to start your own business here in Holland?
It's pretty scary. I mean, my Dutch was okay by the time I started that because the course I'd just finished was in Dutch. And I had a partner who also started his own company, which I was working for and helping with the administration in '92. So I'm not sure how much scarier it was than anywhere else. What I do find tricky in Holland is the pension schemes and the tax and those kinds of things are very different in every country. So the pension schemes I still don't understand and don't want to really. So,
But you could still have your own business without understanding it.
well, you need to pay tax like anywhere, and I mean, people are quite. I found the Belastingdienst, the tax department, very helpful. Actually, I went to see them and asked them things, and the Kamer of Koophandel, the Chamber of Commerce, were also very helpful. You don't need to do a lot of that when you're doing what they call an eenmanszaak, a one-man business. So as long as you invoice and do proper things, you can start your own company. There's a limit which you find out about as to when you have to have a BTV, a VAT number, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, it was a learning curve, sure. And the best thing is to just ask people who've done it, though. I mean, you have to be out there and just ask people, I think, is the best advice I could give people. Ask somebody who's done it before.
Are people so open here?
I think it depends how you are yourself, personally. I think I found a lot of people very helpful here, certainly in Amsterdam. But you have to, the Dutch are certainly different, they're very direct. So that was a bit of a learning.